Guess what time it is?
We should go make a spritz.
Let's make a spritz. Oh my god, I'm literally so hungover.
Ugh, just send me to jail.
We should needlepoint after this. I have got to be in bed at 9 p.m.
I hope no one ever asks me to hang out again.
I definitely need another spritz.
Okay, pause.
Guess what time it is?
It's Spritz O'Clock. Good afternoon, girlies, and welcome back to the Spritz O'Clock podcast, where each week my bestie and I drink a spritz as we discuss all things girl talk, navigating your 20s, and our best advice. My name's Amanda.
And I'm Rives.
And this week is our season 2 premiere. Can you believe it, Rives?
Literally, no, I cannot believe it. I am so glad that we got through a whole season of Spritz O'Clock. This one's going to be even better. We're so excited to be back with you guys.
I know. I missed recording. I missed
too.
Sitting here with you. I missed all of our loyal listeners. We love you guys so much, and we are so pumped for this new season together.
Okay, well, this season we're bringing in all new guests, new vibes, new ideas, new team members. It's just going to be great.
No, it's going to be super good. And we also have a lot of new topics, which brings me to the topic of today's episode, which I feel like is something that's not discussed very often these days. A lot of people would consider it outdated, and that is etiquette. Today we are going to be giving like a little overview of the do's and don'ts when it comes to having proper etiquette. I know this might seem like a snooze fest of a topic to a lot of people, but Rives and I both come from places where etiquette is still very much like prevalent.
Yeah. We have the Emily Post etiquette book in front of us. I don't know if y'all have seen this before, but it's a 600-page book on etiquette. And I feel like just growing up, our parents and grandparents really instilled etiquette in us. And I feel like it's never out of style to go, be proper and have good manners.
And just do a little refresh on your yes ma'ams, your no ma'ams, when to write a thank you note, when to bring a gift, when to not bring a gift, how to ask somebody out on a date, who pays on a date, how to introduce friends when maybe you're out and about and you bump into someone that you know, but you're with someone who doesn't know that person.
Yeah.
There's so many things that happen in life that can be awkward if you don't know the proper etiquette. Mm-hmm. And I feel like just having a little rule book is honestly more like relieving than it is imprisoning, because if you know the right thing to do, then you avoid awkward situations and you overall just look better and feel better in a crowd and in social situations. So
and it probably just makes you feel more confident for the next situation. You know what I mean?
1,000%. I also think just nobody talks about this. I could not tell you one social media account or podcast that's talking about 2024 etiquette, because I think a lot of people just view it as unnecessary, outdated.
Yeah.
Kind of just not a vibe anymore, but it is.
Totally. And we were kind of thinking of making this into a little series for you guys. So let us know if y'all would be interested in that.
Yeah, today we're going to do an overview and talk about etiquette when it specifically comes to roommates, dating, rejecting a date, accepting a date, who pays on a date, that type of thing. Hosting, when you have your friends over, when you have friends come visit for a weekend, when you're a guest in somebody else's home, and then also table manners, going out to dinner, dining at someone else's home, hostess gifts, and giving gifts, receiving gifts, and writing thank you notes. We tried to pick topics that are relevant to 20-something girls, because that's the majority of our audience and what we resonate with personally. Mm-hmm. But we definitely want to do deeper dives into some more specific topics if we decide to make this a series. If you guys like this episode, if you guys hate this episode, we don't ever have to talk about this again. But
we just thought it would be a good little switch up.
I also feel especially you, Rives, you are one of the people I consider in my life the queen of etiquette. You always know the right thing to do when it comes to hosting, throwing a party. I would go to you when I moved into this house, I texted Rives immediately and was what do I do for my neighbors? What is the etiquette for moving? And do I bring a gift to them first? Do I introduce myself to them first? Or do I wait for them to come over and welcome me to the neighborhood?
Yeah.
What's the right procedure with that?
So I feel the correct thing to do as a neighbor when someone moves into your neighborhood, you would come greet, they would come to you. I feel you wouldn't necessarily have to go bring them anything. I personally did go to my neighbor just next door because I wanted to make the connection. But I feel it's the correct thing is that they'll come to you and bring cookies or whatever and be hey, here's my cell phone number.
Yeah.
If you need me to get your mail when you're going out of town or whatever, just let me know.
No, you gave me such good advice on that. Anyways, before we jump into the big etiquette book and deep dive on proper manners, we're gonna give our ins and outs of the week. Actually, maybe like our ins and outs of the past 2 weeks, because we did take a little break. We haven't had an episode since January 2nd, so it's been a minute since we like gave you guys a little update on what's going well and what's not.
Yeah, you know, it's so funny. So I feel like whenever we started our break for Spritz O'Clock, the ins and outs went viral on TikTok. It was my whole For You page. Everyone was posting their ins and their outs.
Yeah, like their ins and outs of 2023.
Yeah, and I was like, oh my God, did we start that?
No, I think people did that for 2022 as well. Not gonna lie.
Okay, so maybe I missed that one.
Yeah. But that's okay. We are the queens of ins and outs. Like, we have ins and outs every week. Other people just have them for the year. We have them 52-week breakdown of ins and outs. So
you're going to know our ins and our outs.
Anyways, do you want to give us an in, Rives?
Of course. My in this week is needle pointing. And Amanda came over and I made her do like a one-on-one lesson. I had to hire her for her time. And I feel like I'm obsessed with it. It is the most satisfying, therapeutic thing ever. I love sitting in bed doing it at night. And literally... So I need to get new light bulbs in my lamps. I was like, oh, do I need a headlamp? Imagine if someone...
No, it's a serious thing. A lot of people get little like reading lamps that go over the couch so that they can needlepoint on the couch. Max was like, I need to get you a headlight at night because I will stay up so late needlepointing in bed, and he's like ready to hit the hay.
Amanda.
And he's like, turn out your lamp. It's so bright. He's like, I need to get you a headlight because I cannot do it with the lights off. So like sometimes, like one time I like literally like stuck my phone like up here and like wedged a ton of pillows together so that I could have my phone flashlight on, and I just like kept going.
It is so hard to do it if you don't have a good light. Like my living room's pretty dark, and so anyways, but I am obsessed with needle pointing. I'm so glad you put me on.
No, it's really the best hobby, and it's a lifelong hobby too. You know, like now that I'm 25, oh my gosh, I didn't even realize. Yeah, I turned 25. I have to update you guys on that. I am a 25-year-old now. But anyways, now that I'm 25, I'm like trying to focus on having lifelong hobbies. You know, like I want to do sports and hobbies that I can play and do for the rest of my life.
Yeah. It's definitely a great hobby. I feel like whenever you think of needle pointing, you think of the cute old ladies like getting together. But like that's how I'm trying to be.
That is the end goal. Like I want to be a needle pointing cute little grandma one day.
Yeah. So I'm excited to finish my first canvas maybe by 2025. I'll be finished with this pillow.
How do you think I feel about my giant canvas?
Amanda, that is a huge canvas.
No, it's so big.
But that is my in this week. Amanda, do you have an out?
Obviously.
I mean, I know you do.
Oh my gosh, it's like, which one do I give you guys? Seriously. Oh my gosh. Okay, you know what my out is?
What?
In all seriousness, QR codes.
I hate those.
Like if I go to a restaurant and I have to read a menu by scanning a QR code on the table, I'm immediately like kind of just rubbed the wrong way.
I know. And you know what restaurant does that?
What?
Actually, no, they just changed it. Las Palmas. Favorite restaurant in Dallas. But literally, it's so dark in there. So I guess that's why they did it for so long. I don't know. But it aggravates me.
My hot take is that it really cheapens the experience.
I kind of think so too.
If you are a high-end restaurant or even like a mid-tier restaurant, having a QR code menu just feels like very juvenile. It feels cheap. Like it feels like you didn't want to put in the time and the effort, the money to like get proper menus printed.
And also, like, what do you do if you go to dinner and your phone's dead?
But I don't really know why people still do it, besides like I guess you're saving paper and helping the environment. It was definitely like a thing that happened during COVID. Like they all just started doing it during COVID so that we didn't get germs on the real menus.
I just hate it.
I don't know.
I hate when it's a really dark restaurant and then you have to get on your phone and scan it, and then you're like trying to look at the menu and your brightness is up. I don't know. It's just a whole...
I'm also going to be honest, just QR codes in other places besides restaurants too. Like it just seems like chewy to me. Like they're just kind of like cheesy. Like I'm just kind of like, no. Like if someone's like, here, oh my God, scan my QR code contact card and get my information. I'm like, you're over the age of 50 for sure. Because no one no Gen Z or like even like younger millennial wants anything to do with QR codes.
No. And my phone never picks them up. Like, I don't know if it's just my phone or what.
No, I think it's the boomers that are like really into them.
Yeah.
That's like my theory.
I think you're kind of right.
Like weirdly, that's like the one tech thing they've like figured out. So now they're like QR codes everywhere.
That's hilarious. I can see you looking at a QR code. Now this is my out this week. QR code.
No, that's like really what happened. I can't remember where it was, but I was like, I've got to write this down.
That is hilarious.
Anyways, do you have an out for us?
Yes. So my out this week, it actually happened to me yesterday. People who steal phones. So I guess thieves are out. Literally, my phone got stolen yesterday at this bar in Dallas, Spider Murphy's, and not to like drag them. It was just the person that was there. But literally, I put my phone at the bar, turned and was talking to my love interest, and then looked back and my phone was gone. And I was like, I never lose things, ever. I never lose things. And so I'm like, I know I'm not going crazy right now. I did not just lose that phone. And so I had to go home without a phone. And I was feeling like kind of disconnected from the world, and it was kind of nice. And then I had to go get a new phone yesterday, but I guess it worked out because I got the new iPhone. So I guess I'm going to level up in my content this year. So,
oh my gosh, you're going to have such a good camera.
I know, like the greasy phone, gone. Literally, she stole it.
Everything happens for a reason. Like, I hate that thief for you.
I know.
But I also am kind of excited that you have a new phone and a new camera.
I know, it's kind of stunning, but it was kind of annoying trying to operate on my iPad yesterday.
Oh.
It was like not cute, but that's my out. Thieves are out. Literally, do not steal. I don't know if anyone needs to hear that, but it's out. Anyways, do you have an in?
I do have an in. So my in this week kind of plays off our episode's topic of etiquette.
Okay.
And that is having a good vocabulary.
I love this.
When I talk to someone and they use words that are just not commonly used in the English language, I just feel so drawn to them.
I'm just like, okay, you're smart. I like you.
I will say I'm not a big fan of like the word salad people that just throw in long, unnecessary words to sound smart.
Yeah.
I'm not talking about those people that just, I forget what the term is called when somebody does that, but they just kind of like inflate their sentences with a lot of unnecessary, lengthy, uncommon English words in an effort to appear more intelligent.
Yeah.
Hate those people. I like conciseness. I like you to get to the point, and I like you to do so with thoughtful, curated, educated sounding vocabulary.
I feel like you have a great vocabulary.
Thank you. I've been working on it.
Like, really fabulous. Maybe it's all these Audible books you've been listening to at night.
I do think reading is a huge way to boost your vocabulary. Like, if you read, you will just learn so many new words. But listening to books and podcasts too, great way to, you know, boost the vocab. But also, I think just eliminating your ums, likes, and pauses, and the amount of times you say literally. If we're talking about me, I say literally every 2 seconds.
I think I do too.
Yeah, I'm trying to work on that. But I think having a good vocabulary is in. Just having like, you know, being well spoken. To me, there's nothing more attractive like in a friend, in a partner, in a coworker, and anything than somebody who's super well spoken.
I definitely need to work on that. I think about that all the time.
Yeah.
I think I lose brain cells talking or hearing myself talk sometimes.
I definitely do. Like, I lose brain cells when I edit this podcast, and I'm like, oh my God.
I'm like, honey, get it out.
Like, I was raised better than this. I know that.
We do the best we can.
Yeah.
That was a good in.
Thanks.
You're kind of on fire for our premiere.
You know, I was prepping. I was prepping for my big debut back to the Spritz O'Clock world.
Literally.
Anyway, should we jump into today's episode?
Of course.
So, just to give you guys a little quick overview, I know we've kind of done that already, but we are using Emily Post's 19 edition etiquette book, We will link this down below. Manners for today. This came out in 2017. I actually just ordered the 2023 version, so maybe we'll go off of that if we do future episodes. But if you guys are interested in having better etiquette in general and want to study up on this for yourself, we will link this below so that you guys can buy it. But she is our source, citing my sources here. Emily Post told us what to do. No idea who she is, but she wrote this book and it's pretty amazing. It literally covers like funeral etiquette, divorce etiquette, like really obscure topics.
Very niche situations.
But I always feel like it is the niche situation where I'm like, literally, how do I handle this?
Yeah. I feel like this is the first one that really kind of talked about social media etiquette too. So I feel like we should look into that maybe after this, and it could be
that could be a whole episode like in itself. Like blocking people, following, unfollowing, liking, commenting. Like, what do you do with an ex? Oh my gosh, I'm just thinking about like all the possible
I'm kind of loving that.
questions I have around that just for myself.
Yeah.
But today we are specifically going to be talking about roommate etiquette, dating etiquette, hosting etiquette, gifts, and table manners. And this is going to be like a brief overview, not a deep dive, but just personal things that we feel like are not addressed commonly. And what brought about this episode was actually a little etiquette run-in I had the other day, I think. Wasn't that when I first brought this up to you?
Yeah. Whenever you were at the table at the restaurant?
I was at a restaurant and I was with some friends and we bumped into this other person that one of my friends knew. And it was such an awkward experience, honestly. One of the people I was with didn't take the time to introduce me to the other person. And it was just like really awkward because they ended up having like a 15-minute conversation off to the side together.
And you're just like...
And I was standing there.
Like smiling
like
awkwardly.
The stalker. Like trying to listen in on their combo in the background.
Because it's like, what do? You don't want to look rude and get on your phone, but it's like you're not included in the conversation.
And I don't even know this other person's name. This other person's also with their mother who was never introduced. No, like I could just cry laughing.
No.
Like, you know those situations where you're like counting these seconds, like a minute has never felt so long in your life.
Yeah.
Like,
well, like you could have been talking to the mom maybe if y'all had been introduced.
Mom, like don't even, but I didn't even tell you and I can't go into much more detail, God forbid, without like dropping names, but oh my gosh, eventually the mom's like, and like introduce herself to me and I'm like, this is just awful. And the whole thing could have been avoided if everybody in the circle, not even everybody, a few people had known the proper etiquette.
So that is what sparked.
So that is what
this.
Yeah. And then an idea was born. I was sitting there like, we will talk about this on the podcast because this will not happen to anybody else because I hate my life right now. And
I just
this
imagine
is horrible.
You being like, hey everyone, like just in the corner, just
I hate those situations.
You don't know what to do with your hands. I just hate it.
No, and you're like, it's rude if I go on my phone, but this is so weird to like just be standing here eavesdropping. And I don't even know the other people's names. Oh, I hate it. But we're not going to start with that today. We're going to actually start with roommate etiquette because this is something that I also think is super relevant for girls in our 20s. A lot of us live with roommates or are thinking about living with roommates or are thinking about leaving our roommate situation. And there's a lot that can go awry. I know from personal experience, like living with someone can change your entire relationship with them, even if you were the bestest and closest of friends before you moved in together, or if you didn't know them at all before either. I mean, like living with someone, you just know them at like such a different level.
Yeah. So this book has a roommate checklist, which is really stunning. She has it broken down into financial, life schedule, personal life choices, personal preferences, significant others, household responsibilities, really everything.
Just a lot of things that can be triggering topics and experiences when it comes to like roommate dynamics. I know personally for me when I lived with roommates, dishes in the sink was a sore spot. And like there's a proper way to go about all of these things. So this is the checklist you're going to use when you are like interviewing roommates, when you are thinking about living with someone. These are just like the topics you want to consider beforehand. So some that I personally really, really like from this list, just because I know of other people that have had these problems: drinking, smoking, and drugs. This especially reminds me of my freshman year of college. I knew of these girls that were rooming with this one girl that I knew. And I'm going to try to be as vague as possible when I explain these situations. So if it sounds kind of awkward, I apologize in advance. I just like obviously cannot be like dragging people publicly on this podcast. But there was this girl roommate situation I knew of where one of the girls in the 4-person roommate situation was a really like heavy smoker of the marijuana.
Yeah, I know of a situation like this.
And 2 of the girls in the roommate situation had like never smoked weed in their lives. And this other girl's like hitting the bong, like she has a dab pen, like there's
She's
like
on the couch sprawled out.
like the whole room smells like weed.
I'd freak out.
And besides the whole weed thing, like all these girls are really cute and get along, but that can be such a pain point if you're living with someone who doesn't have that habit and like you do and vice versa. Because even though you might be really great friends, like outside of your living situation, like that's just something I think a lot of people don't consider, like other people's like drug and alcohol habits before they move in together. Like I think also in our situation, like I know when I was going into college, I was already drinking. I would go out all the time. I was a little bit wild. And I kind of assumed that everybody was on my same level. But there's a lot of people who are like a step more extreme than you and a lot of people that are way less extreme than you. And you have to take into consideration those things.
That's so true. And I feel like going off of that, I feel like another thing could be like, oh my gosh, like I have, a roommate. She loves her wine. She loves to sit on the couch and play music late at night or whatever. So I feel like it could go that way too. And it just be distracting for other roommates as well.
Especially like this checklist. We won't go through everything, but if you guys want to get the book, you can. Does the other person have a significant other? And like, if so, how often do they sleep at each other's houses? How much are they going to be there? Are they going to eat the food in the pantry? Are they going to stay up late? Do they need to use the bathroom? And maybe you guys share a bathroom. These are basically just all things that you want to discuss with the people you're living with before you guys actually move in together. One thing that I feel like needs to be addressed in a roommate situation, if one person has like a boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever, you have to give the other roommate a heads up when they're going to be coming over and sleeping over so that they're not like caught off guard. I know when I lived with 2 other girls, we all 3 had boyfriends at one point. All 3 were like single at one point. Like things are just always changing when you're in college, post-grad, whatever.
You don't want to be like running out in the kitchen in your towel and your friend's boyfriend is in the kitchen eating cereal.
Exactly. Or like you don't want to be like the only one in the house and you think you're home alone and then you hear a man come into the living room and you're in your bedroom and you don't know if you're being robbed or if it's like your roommate's boyfriend. You know what I mean? It's like you hear a man's voice all of a sudden and you're like, was he planning on coming over? Like, I just think with roommates, like at the end of the day, communication is key. And honestly, it might seem kind of annoying, but setting up some house rules for like, are we leaving dishes in the sink overnight? Are we, putting stuff into the dishwasher immediately after washing it? Or is it okay to let things pile up? Like when somebody cooks, do you need to wipe down the counters afterwards? Or like, can you wait till the next day to do that? Just like random little conversations like that. Everyone ends up being like so much less triggered if it's like things are just talked about up front.
Yeah, exactly. Just having rules in place.
Yeah, I think is really important. But I definitely think like when in doubt, over communicate. Like that's etiquette with that. And also like when it comes to the common living space, I always think it's fair to like make your room as messy as you want it to be.
Yeah.
But like when it comes to the common living space, like I don't think it's amazing to like leave your trash and clothes and things like out there.
No. I feel like since you share that space with everyone else, you have to make sure it's clean.
Yeah. I'm just trying to think of like things that were always like our problems. And I feel like that was one of them. Like we were always like leaving our stuff out in the common area.
Take turns cleaning. Like one person doesn't need to be the designated Sunday reset cleaner,
Yeah.
Maybe switch off, like have a schedule. I don't know.
Also, if someone works from home and like other people don't work from home, I know it can get kind of off balance because usually if you're the one who's there majority of the time, a lot of the cleaning and like household responsibilities fall on you because it's like everyone else leaves for the entire day and they kind of like escape that. So I think once again, just talking about it is like the best way to have proper etiquette around the situation, make sure nobody's feelings get hurt.
Exactly.
Another thing we wanted to talk about with roommates is how do you like cordially end your relationship with someone, like, as a roommate? Like, how do you say, like, I'm not going to re-sign the lease, I'm leaving? Like, can you break a lease early? Like, what's the proper etiquette around that? So here's what the book says. There comes a time in most roommate relationships when one person leaves. A new job in another city, a new relationship, and a change in economic circumstances are all typical reasons for ending the roommate relationship. If it is time to part ways, be businesslike. The departing roommate gives notice in advance with enough time for the other roommates to find a replacement or a new place. I think this is so important.
Oh, yeah. You can't just give them short notice. Like,
no, like, if your lease is up in December, I'm sorry, like, as soon as you know, I think is really the etiquette. Like, if you know you are not re-signing a lease, it needs to be out in the open, because if your other roommates want to replace you, like,
they need to be on the hunt.
They need to be on the hunt, realistically, to find a new roommate. Yeah, definitely.
Exactly.
Other times, the relationship ends because it's just not working. Your roommate is always late with their rent. He consistently breaks the house rules regarding overnight guests, whatever. It really just talks about, like, keeping your cool as much as possible through the end of, like, your lease or whatever the time period you're going to be living together is, even if you aren't, like, the bestest of friends.
And just being respectful.
Yeah, I think, like, even if you have, like, a really big falling out with your roommates or something like that, like, it's important to remember, like, it's the other person's home, and as much as you dislike them, it's important to respect, like, their space, their things, their right to have people over, things like that. Unfortunately, in situations like those, I've actually been in a situation like this where, like, I've lived with someone who I was not really great friends with towards the end of our lease, and, like, once again, all you can really do is respect each other's things, and you have to communicate. Even if things are so awkward and, like, you had a super big falling out, like, you have to still be willing to talk about, like, the utility bills and locking the door when you leave. Like, hey, I left my curling iron on. Can you go unplug it? Things like that are all, like, I don't care what's going on. Bottom line, like, you live with the person. Like, those are just conversations that need to happen.
Exactly. I feel like you're a good person to talk to about the roommate stuff, because you've had so many different living situations.
So many roommate stories.
Yeah.
But that's kind of, like, our etiquette on roommates thus far. Our next little topic is about dates.
My favorite. So basically what the book says is, it says the who pays dilemma. Whoever asks the person on a date should be the one to pay.
I feel like this is always the most talked about thing when it comes to first dates. Like, does the guy always pay? Do you split the bill? Do you offer to pay even though you're hoping the guy wants to pay?
Yeah. And it says, which we found interesting, that, you know, if the girl's like, oh my gosh, we should go to a club after, like, she should offer to split that cost.
Yeah, like, say you're going out to dinner with a guy. He asks you on the date. When someone asks you out, they, in my opinion, are fully consenting to pay for whatever they have asked you to do. So if a guy asks you to go to a Mexican restaurant on Friday night, he is saying, I will pay for your check at the Mexican restaurant.
Yeah.
If you suggest, while y'all are at the Mexican restaurant, let's go see a movie after this, then it's, like, up for debate if you guys should, like, split the movie ticket bill, or if you maybe should say, like, the movies are on me because I initiated that aspect of the date. Which I think is totally fair. I think if he is, like, a super gentleman and wants to go above and beyond, he would just, like,
no, I got it.
Be like, no, I got. For me, like, that would be, like, amazing green flag. He just wants to be with you and have fun. Especially on a first date. I will say, as you get further into the relationship, you can kind of have, like, more discussions around finances.
Yeah.
But I do think, in general, if you ask someone to go do something in a, like, romantic setting, you should be okay with, like, fronting their bill.
Of course, yeah. I totally agree. Yeah. And that's kind of what the book says, too, so.
That is what the book says.
Yeah.
What about rejecting a date? I know Rives has done this.
Yeah. So, honestly, okay, there's a whole section that says rejecting a date. I'll tell y'all what I did and what the book says to do. So, I really was just like, I'm not going to give any excuses. I didn't want him to be like, but let's try for next week or whatever. I was just kind of short and sweet to the point. I don't know.
So this is a situation of, let's say somebody asks you out. You are not interested in them romantically whatsoever. Like, you are not attracted to them. What do? Do you make up an excuse? Like, oh my gosh, I'm so busy this week. Oh my gosh, I have so-and-so's birthday party that night. I'm sorry I can't. Or are you honest with them?
Yeah. So I texted him back. I was like, hey, I'm sorry. I'm totally swamped this week, or I'm busy this week. I can't. But I didn't give an excuse. And he didn't respond. So it's okay.
One of my good friends was honest with a guy one time. They went out on a first date, and after the first date, she just wasn't feeling it.
What'd she say?
She was like, hey, so-and-so, I had so much fun with you. Thank you so much for taking me to dinner. Honestly, I think me and you vibe really well as friends. I'm telling you this because I would never want to like waste your time. I want to be upfront with you, and I wish you all of the best on like your dating journey, but I don't really see a future with us. And this was a guy she went out with one time on a Hinge date, and she didn't say like those words verbatim, but it was something along those lines, super short and sweet, to the point. And he had the nicest text message back, actually. It was like, hey, I really appreciate you being honest with me and like not wasting any more of my time. Like, had a great time hanging out with you. Like, let me know if you would ever want to hang out as friends, or like something like that. And it was really, really nice and mature. This was a guy who was like quite a bit older than us, I will say. So maybe he's just kind of
mature.
It wasn't his first rodeo. We'll just say that. But I will say, especially when it comes to like being the girl and rejecting a guy, I do think it's nice that they're not going to have to go out and spend their time and money on like wowing you if you were literally not interested from the beginning.
That's like what I was telling my best friends on the phone. I was like, yo, I just feel so bad going out, making him spend his money on me for dinner when I know it's not going anywhere. And so I was like, I cannot go out with him again.
But I really do think that's the proper etiquette with this type of thing. If you guys are not interested in someone at all, it is so much better to just be honest from the get-go, because you will really dig yourself. I have done this. This is why I'm like harping right now a little bit. Like, I have done this where I have gone out, I think 3 times with a guy in a row, and I knew from the beginning.
If you do find yourself on the second date with them, I didn't want to get into the situation where he was gonna like drop me off at home, pick me up at home, and like try to come in or whatever. And so I was just like, yeah, I'll meet you there. I'm sorry, I'm coming from something. Like, I'll just meet you there. Yeah. And then after that, I was like, yeah, I cannot see you again. But
yeah, there's a polite way to do it, and it really is more thoughtful to reject them up front than it is to like waste their time and lie. Like, honestly,
I totally agree.
One thing we wanted to talk about is what you should look for etiquette-wise in a guy that's taking you out. So I think a guy that has good manners is so attractive. Like, I know when I was single, that is like 100% something I was taking into consideration, and something I loved about Max. So like some things that the book brings up is that they're on time. Obviously, like, a guy that's running late is a major ick. A girl that's running late can be like cute a few times, I think.
Yeah.
I think once you go on a few dates, if you're still running late and like getting ready last minute, it could be maybe a red flag. But a guy that's on time, we love a guy that's on time. When he comes to pick you up, he goes up to your front door, he rings the doorbell, he knocks on the door. If you live with your parents still, he meets your parents. I know, I hate to say it, but like, truthfully, if he's picking you up from your house, like, and you live with your parents still, he should meet your parents, in my opinion.
Absolutely. My dad always said that. Whenever I was in high school, he's like, he's going to come in here and like meet us.
And every guy that took me on a date while I lived at home, like high school, college, whatever, like, I'm saying, like, I'm being dead honest, like, when I lived at college over the summer, like, if somebody was gonna come take me out, if I was under my parents' roof, he was coming in and like shaking my dad's hand 100%.
I love that.
And you know what? It's just a good look.
It really is. And I feel like whenever I love when guys do this, whenever they open your car door, I think it's just so sweet.
Yes, opening your car door, opening your door
to the restaurant,
like door to the restaurant, pulling out your chair. Even, I mean, probably the waiter would do that in that instance, but just like those, you know, those gentlemanly things. And if you're a guy listening to this, by the way, I think if you're nervous that would maybe like rub the girl the wrong way, and like you think it's a little too old school, because I've heard both like sides of this story of like, you don't want to, you know, be like too old fashioned. I think like depending on where you are in the world, like I think if you're taking a girl out in Dallas, that would never be a bad look, like to open her door and to go and ring the doorbell and all that stuff we just talked about. But you can always ask, be like, can I get your door for you?
Yeah.
Like, give her a hand when she's getting out of the car, all of that stuff. Like, I think it's good, just classy.
I totally agree. I feel like it's never a bad look. So
another thing is, like, if someone ever takes you out for a first date, no matter like how bad or good of a time you've had, like if a guy paid for your meal, you always send him a thank you text after. I know, like, a lot of people are like, you don't want to be the one to text after a first date, but I think there's a difference in sending a text that's like, hey, let's hang out again, and hey, like,
thank you so much for dinner.
Thank you so much for the experience I just had. Like, that's just like proper manners, once again, to like be grateful for that and express gratitude. Like, I don't think that has to come off like that you are wanting a second date with the person, like, at all. Like, they take you to dinner, bottom line, you're like, thank you for doing that.
Yeah, exactly. I completely agree. So the person who makes plans to go on the date, I feel like is responsible for transportation. It's literally what the book says. And also, if you're a guy, I don't really want to be getting into a truck with trash piled up to the glove box. Like,
no.
Make sure your car's clean.
So my first boyfriend, actually, it's so funny. His parents were always so like manners, you know, they were real strict about manners. And he would make my boyfriend get a car wash every time. I'm not even kidding. He came to pick me up.
I love
like
that.
The first like few times we really went out, like maybe like 5, but I remember like I would get in his car and it would always be like a freshly washed car. Or if we ever had the homecoming dance, this was in high school, like before a dance, if he was going to be driving me, he would always be like, go to the car wash, like you will be in trouble, like here's a $20 bill, like go to the car wash. So I think that's another good like just tip. If
that
you
is.
are taking somebody out, go drive your car through the car wash. There should never be like trash, or anything in your car. If a guy's doing that, like once again, if you get in there and you can't even like move your feet around the floor because there's fast food wrappers
like
everywhere,
sweaty gym bag, clothes, nasty stuff.
like there should be no golf clubs like flying around the back seat. Like, it should be a pristine, clean car.
We love a man who takes care of his things and his woman.
I also think this goes for just like anytime you're going to be having like, let's say, clients in your car or like friends or whatever, just kind of segueing into like friendships and social scenario etiquette. If you know you're going to be driving someone around,
pick up your car, like
clean freaking car. Like, it's different if it's like I'm going to pick up Rives and I'm like, ugh, my car's a wreck. Like, we know each other well enough. But if I'm being real, like, there should only be a handful of people in your life you're doing that with, in my opinion.
Amanda and I went on a road trip one time and the car was junked and trashed, and it was just not a good look. So
a boy's car was. But yeah, I think like just a messy car is gross. Like, if I'm gonna be real, like, and this is coming from someone whose car is regularly messy. I'm not trying to pass judgment,
but it's not gross.
It's one thing also if you know nobody else is going to be in your car that day, like whatever, you know what I mean? But it's like if you're picking up someone and they aren't a regular passenger, and when I say regular, like weekly passenger, like you need to clean up your car.
Totally agree.
But we could get into dates on a deeper level, especially when it comes to like conversation, like do's and don'ts, like what to wear, things like that. If we wanted to, on a whole episode, like that could be a whole episode.
Yeah. So let us know, DM us, or leave a comment and let us know if you would be interested in that.
Rives, let's talk about your favorite topic now.
Hosting. My bread and butter.
Okay, so as the host, what is your like number one job?
I think you should introduce everyone there to each other, like whether it's, you know, if you're having like multiple friend groups come together, or, you know, if mutual friends show up, just make sure everyone knows everyone. So that way, if they're like in line for the restroom or like fixing a glass of wine next to each other, they can strike up conversation. I feel like another good one is to always make sure your guests have napkins. And
I think like here's the thing. This is like let's do a little like screenplay right now of a scenario. You're coming over to my house. This is how I'm going to greet you. Awesome. I'm going to set the scene for you. I'm having a, let's say, Secret Santa party at my house. We just had the holidays. Like, we've all been to one of those. It's a group of girls coming together. There's not going to be any males for this scenario. Let's just say I'm having 10 girls come over to my house. Most people know each other, but not everybody maybe knows each other. You ring the doorbell, you knock on the door, whatever. You walk in, I say hello, I greet you, I go, how are you? I say you can set your gifts over on that table. I tell you where you can set your gifts. I say everybody's in the living room. I tell you where to go.
The restrooms over here.
Yes.
Drinks.
You like lay it out for them. And then I also ask you, like, can I get you something to drink? Like, do you want water? Or I say the drinks are over there. Like if there's like a drink station and you guys are doing cocktails and like people are making their own drinks, or there's wine or beer or whatever. And then I also, depending on who's already at the house, like if you're not the first person to arrive, like I will make sure that you know the other people's names that are there. If it's like a small enough group like that. Otherwise, I think that could be held off until like you're in specific conversations with people and you could be like, oh, Jerry, I don't know if you know Rives, but like Rives, this is Jerry, Jerry, this is Rives or something like that. But if it's like a group, an intimate group setting, like I think it's, as the host, it is your responsibility to introduce everyone to each other. But I do think as the host, it is your job if it's an intimate group setting. And when I say intimate, I mean like 15 people or less, if I'm being honest. Yeah. That everyone like knows each other's names.
Absolutely. Because then it's just uncomfortable if you get sat next to someone and then they're not talking. I don't know. It's nice if the host just goes ahead and makes the introduction.
Yeah, because you know the host is going to be the person that knows everybody there probably.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And I do think there's some things to point out if food and drinks are involved, like how you said, like make sure you have cocktail napkins, because it can be awkward, like as the guest, to like set your drink down and there not be like napkins or coasters available, because obviously when you go over to someone else's house, you don't want to be like worried about like ruining their furniture, like things like that. Just like think about those things. Like in the bathrooms, like make sure there's toilet paper and hand soap and hand towels and like poopery and like honestly like stuff like that. Just think about like every room of your house that your guests are possibly going to be going into and like what can you do to like add a little personal touch
and make them feel comfortable.
Yeah,
I feel like that's really good advice. I feel like this is funny after my recent events, but never just assume that someone's invited to someone's house. Like always check with the host well in advance, because you know they have to plan out food, like the amount of head counts, like you have to go through a bunch of stuff and make sure there's enough,
like is there a place setting for them, like is there enough alcohol, like all of these things.
So don't just assume that you can bring whoever, even if it's to your best friend's house, like oh my god, she won't care. Well, like that's another person added, and like honestly, like hosting is so expensive, and it's like,
and it can be stressful. Like
it's very stressful.
I also just think, and I know people are going to disagree with me, I love with what you said. Like, it does not matter how close you are with that person, because truthfully, you might not think it bothers your friend because you guys are so close and you've known each other for so long, but it's not. It's really just bottom line, like, not a good look to show up to someone else's house, no matter how close you are with them, with people that the host didn't know was coming.
Exactly.
It doesn't even matter if the host already knows these people from like a different walk of life, or they are like in the same friend group as you. Like you just always give the person whose house you're going to at least a heads up about who you're bringing. Better if you ask permission and be like, hey, by the way, I was thinking about inviting da-da-da, would that be okay with you?
Yeah, exactly. Like if you're going to like a happy hour with your friends at someone's housewarming, don't bring your dog. Probably don't bring your children. Like, it's so funny. My grandmother was telling me this recently, and she's like, how you are with Lulu, like, just remember, like, whenever people have kids, they don't love them as much as you do.
Yes, that's such a good tip. Like, even once again, even if it's your best friend.
Yeah.
Like, you just have to realize, like,
can I bring Penny?
Yeah, you always just ask. Like, when in doubt, ask. That's another thing. Like, if it crosses your mind, maybe I should ask, it means you should ask.
Oh, I didn't even ask you the other day when I busted up with Lou.
Oh, well, that was okay. There's no furniture in here for her to ruin.
I feel like another good thing is whenever you're at someone's house and they're hosting, offer to help. Chances are the host will probably say no, just because, like, I mean, me personally, I like to wash my dishes the way I want to, like all that kind of stuff, but just at least offer to help.
Respect of the other people's areas. Like this book talks about like wipe your feet on the doormat before you come in. Don't put your feet on other people's furniture.
Yeah.
I honestly wouldn't even like one thing that this bothers me. I'm like a freak about like my bed and like other people eating in my bed. And this just goes for like sharing hotel rooms with friends or like having people sleep over at your house and stuff like that. Like I know when I was in college, like all the girls were always going in each other's rooms, like in the sorority house, in the dorms, whatever. And like when people would sit on my bed in their outside clothes, it would really kind of bother me. And so I always say, like, ask your friends, like, can I sit on your bed? You know, like, is it okay if I get under the covers before you just go ahead and do that? Can I eat in your bed? Like, there's a lot of people who don't eat in their beds at all. Like, you just have to think about those things. And then also, like, there's a lot of people that don't wear shoes in their house. This is one where, like, I think as the host, you also have to be lenient with, especially if you're having, like, a more formal get-together at your house. But, like, asking people to take their shoes off when they come in the door can rub some guests the wrong way, especially if you're wearing, like, heels and you don't have, like, socks to walk around in.
It can just feel kind of awkward, especially if you're not, like, super close with the person. Like, Amanda, if you had just implemented this new rule or whatever, be like, okay, like, take your shoes off. I wouldn't think anything about it. But if you're inviting, like, say, a newer friend or something like that, I don't know. I would feel kind of awkward if someone was like, are you going to take your shoes off? Like,
or like, can you take your shoes off, please? It just feels like very like, ooh, like, I don't know. I think it's okay if like it's a known thing about you that you have that rule. But I would say like one thing we do at our house, and we're like trying to implement this rule more, especially just for me and Max on like a daily basis. If I notice also like someone really has like super dirty shoes or something, I might ask them to take them off. But I always have slippers, like hotel slippers that you can just get on Amazon in our front coat closet. So like if somebody does want to take their shoes off, or if their shoes like get dirty for whatever reason, I have like an extra pair of slippers that I can just like offer you, and they're literally $10 on Amazon. Just so like you're not walking around the house completely barefoot. Like let's say you have like high heels on or something like that, and you like want to take them off at my house. Like I love just having like an extra pair of slippers that I could like offer a guest.
I love
so that they could walk around and feel comfortable and not be like super barefoot on the cold floor. It's just like a nice little touch to make them more comfortable, I think.
Look at you go. I really love that. I'm very impressed.
I also think like this is something my friend Grace did for me when I went and visited her in New York too. But she got me a pair of slippers and robe while I stayed over at her house because I was spending the night there for the weekend.
So cute.
And so I think in your guest room, that's like a really nice touch you can add, like having robes and slippers for your guests, just so they feel like a little bit more comfortable if they get chilly, or if you want to come downstairs in the morning in your pajamas, like maybe you're not wearing a bra, or like, you know, there's just certain times where you just want to like cover up, cozy up a little bit more before you see everybody.
Yeah, I would love that because I never pack my robe or slippers, and whenever I'm home, I'm always in my robe and slippers. So I think that's a great tip. One thing that it really bothers me, do not overstay your welcome. And this book kind of goes over ways to kind of like wrap up the night, if you will, if you're the host. And a good way is just, you know, start cleaning up, like start picking up like wine glasses, or like start wiping down the counters, like something like that, just so it's kind of a signal, not being like, hey, get out of my house, but it's like, hey, we're wrapping up for the night. Like,
the book says you can turn off the music if it's a party. In my opinion, I think this is a little aggressive. I would say that's maybe the last thing you should do. But if you do have people over, something I always start doing is I'll like start picking up trash, wiping down counters. If you have dogs, like maybe you can put the dogs away and say like, oh, the dogs are going to go to bed. Or, you know, you as the host can like go change into your sweats really quickly or something like that, just like to kind of signal
party's over,
the party is ending. Or you can start picking up the foods and drinks, or just like not replenish like any of the drinks or food. Like that's another good signal.
Yeah, that is good. I just feel like sometimes people, especially like when alcohol is involved, they just have no concept of time and they just don't know when to call the night. So I feel like those are good ways.
Also, as a guest, it's a good idea. Look around the room. Is it clearing out, or are people still there? And if you are like one of the last few people there, that is your signal that the party has ended.
Yeah, exactly.
And my thing is like, let them miss you a little bit. You know what I mean? Like, it's okay to not shut it down. Like, it is.
We don't need to close it down every time.
Yeah. Like, you don't want to always be that one person that's always lingering.
Exactly.
Like, no.
Yeah. The next thing, I feel like we should go over hostess gifts.
When to bring one, when not to bring one. So obviously, every time you're going over to someone's house, you're not going to bring like a gift for them.
Yeah.
But there are a few occasions where like you can bring a gift and you should bring a gift. And one of them is definitely like a housewarming party. I know my friends, I just went to a housewarming party actually last weekend, and I brought them like a set of really cute like monogrammed plastic cups and little like stirrers, like plastic stirrers that go in the cups.
Cute.
And then like a little Nest hand soap for like a powder bath, and you just like wrap it. And I did a little card that was like, congrats on your new house, like
Cute.
so excited for this new chapter for you or whatever.
Love
and
that.
It's super easy. It doesn't have to be really expensive. Like, I think it's just something that's like a nice gesture. And I would say like, I think it should be something that has to do with the house if it's a housewarming.
Yes, for sure.
Like, give them a good bottle of wine, give them like a hand soap for a bathroom, a candle.
I love a candle or a hand soap or
a
something
coffee
like
table
that.
book, like one of those things.
Yeah, those are good. If you're going to a dinner party, always bring like maybe a bottle of wine. I always feel like olive oil is a good gift. Like a
olive
nicer
oil is a good gift, a nice
oil.
bougie olive oil.
I feel like that's a good gift. And then like if you're going to stay at your best friend's who, you know, she lives in a different state, always bring a little something for her. Like my best friend came and stayed and she brought me these like Goop lip balms, and then she got me these really pretty candlesticks, and I loved that. And then just never show up empty-handed, especially when you're going to stay with someone.
If
I feel
you
like
are
it's
staying the night, you need to come with a gift.
Yeah, I agree.
Sorry, that was
must.
aggressive, but like I'm saying this because you guys are like, I feel like you're like my little children. I feel like I'm in school. I
Bring a gift.
Bring a gift. This is gonna be me as a mom. Like, you do not go over there without a gift.
We gotta stop and get one.
Yeah. So I think staying the night, if it's a housewarming, if somebody's hosting you on their birthday, I mean, birthday in general, you're probably already going to know to bring a gift. But especially, I would say, even if it's a situation where you're not in a friend group that does birthday gifts,
Just bring a little happy.
if they are hosting on their birthday, especially, I would say, like, bring a gift.
For sure. Sir.
Like, whereas, like,
hard.
if you're just meeting them at the restaurant to go to dinner with them for their birthday and they're like, no gifts, like, that's one thing. But, like, going over to their house on their birthday, I'm like, you need to bring something.
Totally. Even if it's just like a Trader Joe's bottle of wine, tie a cheap ribbon on it and make it look cute.
Even if it's just like a note that you wrote to them, like expressing how much you love their friendship.
honestly
with a
love that more.
$5 Starbucks gift card. Like, it does not have to break the bank at all. Like, it is just like acknowledging their effort and their generosity.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's really sweet to do. And I really always appreciate that. And I feel like people don't do that much. Like, people don't do little like hostessy gifts that much.
And it always just like is the best look. Like, I feel like people really remember that.
Yeah, definitely.
Random, but in this book, if you have a guest room in your house and you never know what to put in the guest room, or if you're like hosting people, they have an amazing checklist for like all of the things that you should have in your guest room or that you should have prepared when people are coming to stay at your house for the weekend or like for a week or however long it is, which is just kind of like a good little, you know, like checklist to have. I love that they included, sorry if this is like bad to say, but like tampons in this.
Yeah.
Like, that's so random, but like I think you should always just like have those in your bathroom for your
I
guests.
think so too. And like an extra blanket at the foot of the bed. You never know who gets super cold. Like, I don't know. I feel like that's a good one to
An
always
extra
have.
blanket I always need.
I was literally thinking of you.
Yeah, like that is,
I feel like that's good advice.
when people come over to your house, you have to tell them where the water is.
Yeah.
This is such a common problem that I had at sleepovers growing up. You would wake up in the middle of the night parched.
And you're like trying
You're
to
like,
get to
yes,
the
you're
kitchen.
like in the dark navigating.
Yeah.
You're like, where is the kitchen in this house? Where is the water in this house? Is it from the fridge? Are we a water bottle family? Are we a Brita family? Like, do we have that big jug of water that's like out in the garage? Like there are so many, like, do we drink from the tap? tap here? Like, where are the cups? Like, do I
Yes.
get a Stanley? Like, what am I doing? Like, what am I doing?
That is so true. So just always make sure everyone knows where their water is.
It also talks about, like, if you are a house guest, offering to pitch in for groceries or, like, stop by the grocery if you are going to visit someone. I think this can go, like, a really long way, especially if you're going to someone's, like, lake house or ranch or something like that. Like, obviously don't show up empty-handed, but, like, offering to, like, Venmo for groceries or just, like, recognizing the fact that they probably did, like, a full grocery haul to, host you and your friends is, I think, just, like, a good kind of... Yeah.
Honestly, like, they'll probably say no, but I would always show up with at least a few different things, especially if you're, like, going to someone's lake house or ranch or
just,
something.
like, a thing of water bottles or, like, a multi, chips, like, pack or whatever.
Universal.
I feel like we should kind of segue into gifts more specifically because I think this is something that is just... There's so many little, like, minute things to consider on, like, what type of gift you give, when you send a thank you note, when you don't, et cetera, et cetera. So it gives a whole list of, like, gift giving occasions. So if you're, like, wondering, do I bring a gift? Like, do I not? It says for, like, obviously, like, a baptism,
Graduation,
a confirmation, a first communion, a naming ceremony, a bar bat mitzvah. These are all occasions where it's like you literally need to bring a gift. Housewarming, a wedding or a baby shower, an engagement party, a retirement party, an anniversary party, a birthday.
get well gift.
Like, if somebody is sick and you're visiting them, like, in your home, or if you're going to visit someone at the hospital, like, you need to bring, like, obviously, like, flowers with you, like, balloons, a gift, something like that. I feel like the rest of these are, like, dinner at your host's house. Like, if you're going to a dinner party, like you said, you always show up with something. An overnight visit, we talked about that.
So I feel like group gifts are a good thing if you're if you're a big friend group. Sometimes my friend group does this where we'll kind of all pitch in for a bigger thing as opposed to getting, everyone gets a smaller gift. You can just pitch in on one thing. Also, if you're getting, like, a gift for a coworker, it's a coworker's birthday, like, get everyone to pitch in. I feel like that would be another circumstance where you would do that.
I will say, if you guys decide to do a group gift, you need to make sure that everyone attending the occasion is, like, in on the gift.
Yeah. And having a card with everyone's name on it. Like, make sure you don't forget anyone's name.
I mean, I think bottom line, if you're giving a gift, you need to give a card with a gift. You can give a card without a gift. You cannot give a gift without a card.
Yeah.
Like, it's kind of like the square rectangle thing. Like, a square is a rectangle isn't a square. You know what I mean? Like, a gift is not a gift unless it has a card. A card can be a card on its own without a gift. Anyways. Yeah, and always sign your card and always include everybody who contributed to the gift's name on the card, obviously. I think if you're, like, going to a birthday party, it's kind of awkward to do a group gift between, like, only a few people. Like, in my opinion, I mean, there's certain times, like, I think about, like, baby showers and stuff where, like, me, my mom, and my sister have all done, like, a gift from the three of us, but that's just more so because me and my sister were dependents on my mom. Like, I think it's okay to, like, give a gift from a family, but if it's, like, a group of your friends showing up to a birthday party, all the, like, people going to the party need to be, like, in on the group gift if it's gonna be, like, a group occasion. Otherwise, like, everyone needs to just do, like, smaller individual gifts so that nobody's, like, excluded from the group gift. And obviously, like, whenever you receive a gift, you should write a handwritten thank you note.
And whenever you go to stay at someone's house, bring your gift with them, but also thank them. And, like, if you're going to someone's house for dinner and they cooked you dinner or whatever, write them a thank you note. I feel like I would do, if I received a gift, like, from my friend when she stayed the night for the weekend or whatever, I wouldn't send a thank you note for her gift to me. There's just something about, like, taking time to write out the thank you note and put it in the mail, stamp on it, and take it and put it in the mail.
And receiving it is so nice. Like,
getting so something in the mail, like, makes me so happy.
Yeah,
I love it.
So I think, always write it in the snail mail. this book talks about like just do it. The sooner you write, the easier the easier it is, which I agree with. I think it's almost awkward when you wait too long.
Yeah, I agree.
Like you've got to do it. So also like what is the proper etiquette when someone brings you a gift and maybe you don't have a gift for them? Like let's say you didn't know if you were exchanging Christmas gifts with someone and you like went over to their house and you brought them a Christmas gift and they don't have anything for you, or like vice versa. I think ahead of all of this, it's always great to like clarify. Yeah, I think bottom line is like don't make it awkward and be like, oh my god, I didn't know we were exchanging gifts. Don't like shame the other person for giving you a gift. Like it's really awkward when people do that. I hate that. Just always be super gracious, say thank you. You can write them a thank you note, but like also you're not, like as you said, you're not obligated to get them anything in return if it's not the type of relationship where you want to like start exchanging gifts. Because it's like if somebody gets you a Christmas gift and you don't get them anything and then you end up going out and getting them something in return, you've now almost like initiated that tradition of you guys are going to be exchanging gifts every year.
Totally
agree. And a good way to kind of like put that to bed would to just be like be gracious and then like write them a thank you note for the gift and then just kind of like leave it at that. And that should like signal to them that like it's probably not going to be the type of relationship where you guys exchange gifts every year, I think. Anyways, I hope that's like not all super obvious information and this is helpful.
I know.
But I feel like these are like very basic manners things, but as we said, we can like get way more granular if you guys want us to do more on these. Should we do table manners?
Obviously, always be on time. I struggle with that.
I mean, like, here's the thing. When we say table manners, we're kind of just talking about like manners around the dinner hour in general. The book says like always be on time. I struggle with running late, as we know. And so do you.
We both do. I feel like that. And then just kind of like if you're paying with someone, like if two families are out or whatever, or I don't know, if you and your significant other out with like a group or whatever, just order together and just kind of let the waiter know that like y'all are together. So it's easier
from the get-go for the waiter. That's like if you're going to a restaurant. Yeah. Another thing is like people are always wondering if it's okay to tell the restaurant if you don't like your food. Like how do you go about telling the waiter like my cocktail is literally like not drinkable? Like you know when you go to a restaurant and like you get a Paloma and it's literally just straight tequila and you're like there's no way I'm even gonna be able to drink this drink. What do I do? Do I send it back to the bar? Do I just order a different one? Like what do I do?
The book says to just like quietly say something to the waiter. Don't make a big scene about it or anything. Just quietly signal the waiter over or waitress and be like, hi, is there any way I could get like more grapefruit in my Paloma? Something like that. And it's not rude to ask.
I think that's like so important for everyone to know. Like telling the restaurant you are not happy with your food is not wrong. Like it's not wrong.
I do this a lot.
It's all about how you go about it.
Not being like, oh my god, this is the worst drink I've ever had. Come over here.
It's not what you say, it's how you say it. And the book says you should just keep it between you and the waiter. So if you can like whisper to the waiter or like if you can like catch them at a time, maybe like where the other person you're eating with has gone to the bathroom or something like that, as long as you just don't make it a scene. Like definitely make sure the tables around you like aren't hearing you complain, and definitely make sure you're not making like a show of it in front of like the other people you're dining with, like so that they don't feel like embarrassed or something like that. Like if you're the waiter, I could just be like, hey, is there any way I could swap out my drink for something else? This isn't tasting the best to me. And usually they will be so nice about it. Actually, always. Like I've never really had a situation where the waiter's been rude about
I'm so sorry, let me get that fixed for you.
So
I feel like tipping is another good thing to talk about. The book says between 15 to 20%. I usually do like 18 to 20.
I would only tip 15% if you had like a very poor meal. If I'm being completely honest, like I will always tip 20% if I had like a great or good meal. If I had an outstanding meal, I've even tipped like 25 before, especially if it's a restaurant that I frequent often, or like if this is a waiter like you've had multiple times at a restaurant or something like that, I think, or if it's around the holidays, tipping extra is always like really important.
And they like really appreciate that. Totally. Just like tipping in general, you never want to go out on a date with someone and they just like don't tip or like leaving a really insulting tip, I would probably never ever go out with that person ever again.
No, you always tip at a restaurant, and you always tip a bartender.
Yeah.
That's something that's not talked about enough. You always tip a bartender.
Yes.
If you are at like a cocktail bar, dive bar, it does not matter. Like when you get that receipt, I think really the same rule applies unless you had terrible service. Then maybe you could tip a bartender like 10% or something, because I feel like at the bar maybe you can tip a little bit less. I mean, I really always, y'all, just tip 20%.
Yeah.
Better safe than sorry, especially if you had good or decent service. Like,
Always double the first number.
yeah, double the first number. That's a good rule of thumb.
Yeah.
But I think that's all we're going to talk about today. If you guys want us to do another etiquette episode, we would absolutely love to, because I feel like this is a topic, once again, that's not discussed very often. And like specific topics too. I know today was very surface level and y'all probably knew a lot of these tips already, but it is good just as a little refresher. I also know when you're so young, like most of our listeners are like early 20s, it's really easy to forget etiquette rules and think it doesn't apply to you just because everybody's broke and in the same boat and pressed for time and working,
and you're not living under your parents' roof, so you don't have your mom screaming at you to like be sure you're bringing a hostess gift, like things like that. So I feel like they're very easy to forget, but it's very important to still remember to do these things that we've talked about, and it just is a good look all around.
I do think like it really does like go the extra mile like in your relationships if you're willing to, you know, do some or all of these things. Because it just like, once again, it's a good look, it's super generous and considerate, and yeah, it's important to let the people in your life know how much you care about them and to respect them, yada yada yada. So
I love that.
it applies to everyone, no matter your age. Anyways, I think it's about time for us to wrap up. If you guys enjoyed today's episode, please make sure to leave a comment down below. If you're listening on Spotify, leave us a 5-star rating. Follow this podcast. Make sure to leave us a review if you're listening on Apple Podcasts. And as always, if you guys have any questions, comments, concerns, ideas, or feedback, you can always DM me and Rives on Instagram and TikTok. My username is at It's Amanda DeWitt, and Rives is at Rives_Lee. With that being said, ta-ta for now. I hope everyone has an amazing day, and we will see you here next Tuesday for a new episode. Bye.
Bye.